Good evening, and welcome to What the Wild. I'm Max Meerkat. Tonight, incredible true stories from the animal kingdom. Let's begin. Story 1. Imagine a brain smaller than a grain of rice, no bigger than a pinhead, with fewer than 1 million neurons. Ours has 86 billion. You'd expect a mind that small to be capable of almost nothing. But the honeybee is about to prove us all wrong. These insects already do something incredible. They dance. A returning bee performs a looping waggle dance that tells the entire hive the exact direction and distance to food, miles away. It is a language made of movement. And yet for years, scientists believed that understanding numbers, especially the idea of nothing, of zero, was something only humans and a few clever animals could ever do. Then researchers decided to test the bees. In careful experiments, bees were trained to fly toward cards showing fewer and fewer shapes. Choose the smaller number, and they were rewarded with sweet sugar water. Choose wrong, and they got a bitter taste instead. The bees learned fast. But then came the real test. The scientists showed them a card with no shapes at all, an empty card, a zero. And astonishingly, the bees understood. They treated nothing as a number, smaller than one. It's a concept that took human mathematicians thousands of years to fully grasp. And human children don't understand it until around the age of 4. But the bees weren't finished surprising us. In other studies, honeybees learned to do simple addition and subtraction. They even learned to recognize human faces, telling one person apart from another by combining features, just as we do. And perhaps most amazing of all, bees can learn from each other. In one experiment, a bee was taught to roll a tiny ball into a goal for a reward, and other bees, simply by watching, learned to do it too. And some even improved on the trick. A creature with under 1 million neurons, doing what we once thought needed billions. Every flower-filled meadow, it turns out, is buzzing with tiny mathematicians and problem solvers. The humble bee is far, far smarter than it looks. We'll pause there. Stay with us. Story 2. Stand most animals in front of a mirror, and they react as if seeing a stranger, a rival to challenge, or something to simply ignore. But a rare few do something extraordinary. They realize the reflection is themselves. This is called the mirror test, and it is one of science's clearest windows into self-awareness, the ability to recognize that you exist as an individual. It sounds simple, but it is profound, and only a handful of species have ever passed it. The great apes, dolphins, magpies, and one giant of the animal world, the elephant. At the Bronx Zoo, a large mirror was placed in the enclosure of an elephant named Happy. She approached, studied her reflection, and then did something remarkable. Researchers had painted a white mark above her eye, in a spot she could only see in the mirror and could not feel. Standing before the glass, Happy reached up with her trunk and touched the mark on her own head again and again. She understood that the elephant in the mirror was not a stranger. It was her, a clear, undeniable sense of self shining through. And elephants reveal their minds in countless other ways. They mourn their dead, returning to the bones of lost loved ones and gently touching them, sometimes for years. They comfort distressed friends, wrapping their trunks around them to reassure them. They use tools, snapping branches to swat away flies. Some have even learned to paint, holding a brush in their trunk with surprising control. And their memory is legendary, recalling faces, places, and watering holes across vast distances and decades. Behind those ancient eyes is a mind that thinks, feels, and knows itself, one of the most emotionally intelligent creatures ever to walk the earth. We'll pause there. Stay with us. Story 3. In the steamy rainforests of Borneo and Sumatra lives one of the most quietly brilliant minds in the animal kingdom, the orangutan. Sharing nearly 97% of our DNA, they are master problem solvers. In the wild, they craft tools from sticks to fish for insects and to prize seeds from spiky fruit. They build a brand new sleeping nest high in the trees every single night. When it rains, they hold large leaves over their heads like umbrellas or use them as gloves to climb thorny branches. And they carry detailed maps in their minds, remembering exactly which trees in the forest will bear fruit and when. But it is in captivity that their genius becomes almost unbelievable. One famous orangutan, named Fu Manchu, kept escaping his enclosure at the Omaha Zoo, baffling his keepers for weeks. They were sure a door was being left unlocked. Then they finally caught him in the act. Fu Manchu had hidden a piece of wire, tucked away in his cheek where no one could see it. He would take it out, use it to pick the lock of his door, and then hide it again, so no one would ever find his tool. He wasn't just escaping, he was planning and covering his tracks. At another zoo, an orangutan named Ken Allen broke out so many times he became a local celebrity. Orangutans have learned to copy human behavior with startling precision. Washing clothes, sawing wood, even paddling canoes. One orangutan named Chantek learned around 150 signs of sign language, used them to hold conversations, and even understood the value of money, trading tokens for treats. They bargain, they deceive, and some researchers believe they plan for the future, signaling tomorrow's travel plans the night before. Slow, thoughtful, and endlessly clever, the orangutan proves that intelligence in the wild comes in many quiet forms. We'll pause there. Stay with us. And finally, story 4. For most of history, to call someone a bird brain was an insult, a way of saying they were stupid. Then came a parrot named Alex, who would prove the entire world wrong. In 1977, a young scientist named Irene Pepperberg walked into a pet store and chose an ordinary African gray parrot, almost at random. She named him Alex and began a 30-year journey that would change how we see animal minds forever. Most people thought it was impossible. A parrot, they said, could only copy sounds, not understand them. Alex was about to shatter that idea completely. Alex didn't just mimic words. He understood them. He could identify around 50 different objects, 7 colors, and 5 shapes. He grasped difficult concepts like bigger and smaller, same and different. He could count up to 6. Shown a tray of objects and asked how many were green, Alex would answer correctly. He even understood the idea of 0, calling it none. And then he did something no animal had ever done before. Looking in a mirror, Alex asked what color he was. He was asking a question about himself. When he learned the answer was gray, he had, in a sense, learned his own name. Alex had a personality too. He grew bored, demanded treats, and when he was tired of testing, he would tell the researchers, "I'm gonna go away." But it is his final night that the world will never forget. Every evening, Alex and Irene said goodnight to each other. On the last night of his life, Alex looked at her and said the words he always did. "You be good. I love you. See you tomorrow." By the next morning, he was gone, a small gray parrot who spent his life teaching humanity that the mind behind those eyes was far, far greater than we ever imagined. That's What the Wild for tonight. I'm Max Meerkat. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss what the wild has in store. New stories several times a week. Until next time, stay wild.